Good evening, good afternoon, and wherever you find yourself in this weird, wacky world of ours, and welcome to another exciting installment of Darkness in Dublin. This evening's scene, once again, it's funny how it is that when you walk streets, particularly if you've got nowhere to go, save killing the time, how it is that streets can twist in upon themselves, how it is, even though you're convinced you're walking one way, you're walking an entirely different direction. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've not read the two backstories. You two are brother and sister, aren't you?
Yeah, yes, we are brother and sister. Yes,
As in the bodies were brother and sister, or the souls were brother and sister?
the bodies, the bodies were brother and sister,
Okay.
but the souls have also a connection.
Okay.
Dare say not that deep.
Mm. Regardless where you are in the city proper, regardless where it is you had been walking, regardless where it is you had thought your steps would take you, you turn a corridor. You turn. I was going to say you turn down a corridor, but that's wrong. You turn a corner. You step under an archway. You enter a shop, or perhaps you leave or perhaps you leave a bodega. And then all of a sudden, you are standing on a cobbled street somewhere in the back alleys of Dublin city proper. You can still smell the vague smell of city life. You can still hear the sound of horns and the pedestrian thump as they walk down crowded streets, though it seems to be muffled somewhat farther away than you would think. And on this single street, this long cobbled street that you would guess is about 25 feet in length, before it turns off at a corner on either side, there is a very shabby, run-down looking establishment. The only opening in on two solid spaces of wall on either side of you in red brick. A sign once stood overhead or hung overhead, you would assume. However, years of dust and decay have made it so that the once golden lettering is now entirely impossible to read. If it had a name, it's long since been forgotten. The door itself is composed of glass panels and green wood. There is no open sign that hangs there, and the windows are covered in such grime and dirt that it would make it almost impossible to tell what was sold there, except for you can see the many pointed star of protection that has been etched onto the door, into the glass, into the window panes. And from looking squinting through it, you can almost make out the sign of bookshelves inside. And that is your intro. Feel free to do as you will.
Kittle was just entering exiting actually a known crack house, where he just sort of adjusted some people into not forgetting that they still owe him money. And as he then turns a corner, he finds himself in a different area, and he's been living in the streets for quite a while, and this is different. And he looks around instantly, and he is dressed casual as fuck, I would say. He doesn't give a fuck about his appearance. Um, but when you look closer, the things that he wears seems to be of a particular brand. So they are of value. However, they don't look like he takes very much care of them or is very much attached to any sort of brand, or so it seems. As he walks further on the cobblestone road and spots the he would see as a curious shop to begin with. Um, he finds the street rather empty and sees a familiar face.
Yeah, Lil had just stepped out of a car, or at least so she thought. Um, and suddenly finds herself in a completely different surrounding. She is immediately on edge and will draw a gun. 'cause fuck it. And yeah, unlike her brother, sort of, she will wear a pair of ripped jeans and a leather jacket that has definitely seen better times. Looks like it has that quality build that they had, like, a couple of years ago, before fashion became all like, if you wear it 1 year, then you're basically wearing it too long. So it's definitely very sturdy, but it has some, like, scratches and yeah, spots on it. Mm. And yeah, as she's walking very slowly towards the shop, she'll also notice her brother, and just in, like, out of a reflective movement, she'll just quickly kind of point a gun at him, but as soon as she recognizes him, will lower it and just keeps it ready.
Relax, sister.
What's this?
If I knew, I'd tell you. Looks like we are both drawn to this illustrious place for our talents.
You assume.
What else? I'm assuming somebody has a fucking plan. Well, since nothing else of interest is in this fucking cobblestone road, and the way I got here is highly peculiar, we are drawn to this bloody door. So, by all means, sis. And he flamboyantly, almost showingly, pulls open the door if you can, so she can look inside. But
I mean,
opening the door for her, not entering.
She will dive to the sides because, bullets could fly out of that door.
As you dive to the side, you will notice one thing that is strange, but it's not necessarily strange in the shop. No. It's strange on the road. To the extreme left-hand side of the road, essentially where it turns a corner, you will see that there is a road sign. To the left, it says somewhere. And then you'll notice there's an identical one on the right, however, an identical sign, but instead of saying, it says nowhere. Just in case that's interesting.
It is interesting. If only I had the memory to know which fucking group does this shit.
I mean, that's not that hard.
I don't know it.
I mean,
So, since I'm opening the door and no bullets are flying, I look around the corner inside.
Right. You will see inside a very well set up establishment, in the sense of there are a number of bookshelves that seem to curve along the wall. I say curve because the wall itself goes at a somewhat right angle. So there's a space that is directly forward in a rectangle, and then it has an abrupt right angle and goes the opposite direction, out of sight. But from what you can see, you see a number of bookshelves stuffed with ancient volumes of various different texts. You smell that wonderful smell of leather that's palpable, that almost leaves a taste on the tongue. The smell of dust hangs heavy in the air. You will notice a number of oddities. For example, seated on the counter next to one of those old 1920s style excuse me, cash registers, with its brass shining brightly, a draconic head of some kind of statue, in which, in its outstretched hand, in its outstretched claws, there appears to be in its outstretched claws, there's an incense burner through which a deep smelling incense, something that has vague notes of sandalwood wafts. So that also tints the scent of the air, and it wafts quite heavily. There is the most obvious and striking thing in the room that you could see is a golden skull, directly facing you, with a number of nails driven into it at all directions. An obviously human skull, though clearly having been dipped in gold. But that's all you can see from the front angle of it.
Curious indeed.
There appears to be no one physically in the shop.
Okay. Yeah. Lil will head in. Kind of has the gun half raised. As she is doing a quick search to see if she can see anyone, can find anyone, and then, motions to Carol that he can come in.
Carol comes in and slides his hand into his right pocket. Inside his right pocket, he has his famous razor blade. Famous not here, but definitely on the street when he needs to make a point. So as he holds his hand on his razor blade, he steps inside, trying to look as relaxed as possible, and is very much interested in golden skulls because they're quite
Yeah.
a heavy number on that market.
Do you choose to investigate the skull?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, without touching it, I must say I'm not completely daft.
I was going to say, if it helps, during the first party that went here, somebody picked up the skull.
No, I won't on the simple account that if I want to do this right, I might make sure that there's no security measures on there, if you know what I mean.
All right. So you walk forward and you walk around the plinth because it's sitting on a small marble plinth on a large silken pillow.
Yep.
You will walk around it. Now, one thing that we have decided for the record is, and it is a universal thing for Demon, for the venue, is you will all be able to speak, comprehend, read, and write in Enochian. Because
right.
it is the first language, and it also makes things a lot easier for us.
Yep.
So you will notice etched into the skull, etched into the bone, not into the gold. The gold itself dips into the etching. A number of Enochian glyphs that you would be able to surmise after a few moments reading are glyphs of binding, glyphs of keeping, and glyphs of anchoring.
He's not getting close to that anymore. He knows that thing is meant to stay there and stay there. He's not touching anymore. However, he definitely knows that we're not in Kansas anymore, and he informs his sister, says, "Lil, this skull has a Enochian written on it. It is definitely either binded and warded, and we could face a potential hostile fiend at least, or something or other."
All right.
You hear a small coughing noise, like
Goes in that direction.
walking out from behind the counter, from a small door that was quite well concealed. You will notice that when it was opened, one of the bookcases rolled aside very silently to reveal the door. This individual is standing there.
Ooh, pretty.
Oh, I do beg your pardon. I did not think that I would have company. The large eyes blink. Blink.
The face of this Faustian, is he because he's Eminence 4? Is he?
He's not. Oh yes, he is Faustian. My apologies.
Yeah, sorry, I am Faustian and I am not Eminence 4. Maybe Eminence 4 with a little bit of house law. I would know if we got an Eminence 4.
You would have to hear his name before you would be able to make the roll. But if you introduce yourself, you will definitely be allowed to make a roll.
Right. That's going to be interesting.
My apologies. I did not expect company. But then again, sometimes this is the path that you need to walk, I suppose. Walking a path is important. Yes, I'm sure that it is. My apologies. I'm being such a terrible host. He will put down a book onto the counter that he is holding. You will notice the book is bound in very, 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 very tanned leather, but it has an eye on it, and you're almost certain you see the eye blink.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the gun is not lowered; it's still pointed at him.
Oh, that's rather unnecessary, my dear, I assure you. Please, you're my guests. Won't you put that down?
So
She brings
normally I get a letter if I want to become a guest, so I can ignore these things. So since I am a guest, uninvited, it would be polite, don't you think, to have a proper introduction?
Ah, and for the record, sir, you are a guest here because it is fate mandated that you would be a guest here.
Oh,
And that's how the road works. That's the only way you find your way onto it, is if you're meant to do so.
figured as much.
But of course, an introduction. Please allow me to formally introduce myself. He will give a very, very curt little bow, and he will say, "But what name? What name to use? That's always such a complicated little issue. Ah, my name is Gunther Alexander, called by some Nahariel. A pleasure to make your acquaintance." And if you do possess house lore, you can roll it because I know you have house lore.
Of course.
If you possess legacy, you can roll it with intelligence.
Right, well, my intelligence is crap.
But it's still going to be intelligence, house lore, and Saskia. Do you possess legacy?
Nope.
Nope.
No, we both decided not to take any sort of legacy.
Excellent.
To keep it silly and fun.
It'll be a wonderful matter of filling in who the crap you were when. That'll be fun.
Yeah. So where do we roll?
In the dice roller. The Darkness in Dublin dice roller. Do I require linking? I may have to link.
We have a dice roller? Could I have the dice roller? I'm so silly.
Yes.
I haven't really figured out that there's a dice roller needed.
Ugh.
I mean, oddly enough to roll dice, it's a thing. Don't tell anyone.
No.
Where is it?
That's such a side note.
Invite people. Here we go. I'll just post the link to the Discord in the Demon Facebook chat, I think, because that's the easiest.
Sure.
We apologize, viewers, for technical difficulties, also known as Fuck Dice Roller.
I remember the good old days when they were still attached to Google Hangouts.
Attach, sweetie.
Yes.
Detach.
Back when we had to have cameras on, or else you were clearly cheating.
Now, who would ever do that?
Good old days. Yeah, the gun is still not lowered down, by the way. Because, someone still sort of believes that, yeah, this guy definitely brought them here.
I do not have permission. Now I have permission. Rolls. There we go. There you go. A 9 and a 6.
All right, that is 2 successes. Okay. Nahariel is a fiend for a start. You will know that. He is incredibly well respected among the Faustians because he is considered to be a master of time and causality.
Of course.
That's what he does. You're not exactly sure what he did during the war. That would be legacy. But you're aware that he did something really important.
Otherwise, I guess he wouldn't be here. So, yeah. Since some lights go on and say in the fact of who he is, Cyril will then introduce himself as well and says, "My name is Carulo Quinn, also known as Mafwambotra Fana."
It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, sir.
A fellow Faustian indeed.
Now then, would you mind please lowering the gun, miss?
She'll just look at her brother.
Don't worry about it.
He holds out his hand. What kind of gun is it?
I mean, if Carol basically says it's okay, then she'll lower her gun. But it's just a pistol, I guess.
Okay, so we'll assume it's a kind of a 6-shooter thing, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. He will smile as you hold out the gun. Before, from behind his back, he will hold out his hand containing 6 bullets.
Lil's eyes are just simply narrowing as she lowers the gun and puts it back.
He will hand you back your 6 bullets, just like, huh? Huh?
She'll take them and put them in her pockets.
Wonderful. I apologize. How to say this? I wish to prevent the concept of violence, even if you, and I assume you had no indication of attempting to cause me direct harm, but you quite understand, I hope.
As you take your precautions, and Kirill points with his thumb to the golden skull. Us humans, or a human form, should definitely take our own precautions. You see, we tend to be in the business of security. Force of habit.
Oh no, one quite understands. May I offer tea?
You have something stronger?
Of course.
Wonderful.
Would you please come this way? He will walk out from behind the. He walks out from behind the counter. He's not tall at all. He's only about 5'8", 5'9". He's not physically imposing either. He's very, very slightly built. He walks with a cane, though he doesn't seem to have a limp. He will take you down. There's a small flight of stairs just as you go into the right angle area of the room, so essentially into the pointed element of the L that the room forms. There's a small flight of stairs leading down. It's only about 5 or 6 steps, and you will find a rather comfortable set of chairs, leather armchairs, and a fire crackling in a hearth with a low coffee table between them. And interestingly enough, you will see that it has already been set for tea, including one of those multi-layered little serving trays that have little cakes on them. Little cakes. So they're miniature cupcakes. They are adorable. Yes, please sit down. I will. What is it that you would like to drink, Mr. O'Quinn? You said that you would prefer something stronger than tea.
Oh, most definitely. Especially for a day like this. Got whiskey?
Oh, yes. One moment. He will kneel down at a drinks cabinet for a few moments before rising up, and he has a bottle of very, very old, very expensive-looking whiskey in his hand that he will actually blow the dust off before nodding and setting it on the table with a glass.
Right. Kirill will pick up the the bottle and actually start reading the bottle to see what it is.
It appears to be from a family distillery called called Markham's Brewers, and it is dated. It is dated as having been bottled January 12th, 1952.
He'll definitely pour something from that.
Wonderful. As I said, I tend to. Oh, sorry. One other thing you would have gotten about this individual from he's incredibly reclusive. You can kind of see why.
The fact that the bottle needs to be dusted means that he gets not many guests.
I tend to keep rather to myself, so I'm always happy when it is the road decides to bring me company. Ironically, you're not the first group that I've had recently to come to tea, so that is so pleasant for me.
Destiny, I suppose. As Kirill says with a quite sort of now would you say a disdainful sound that he knows that that it's there and he knows that it exists, but not willing to admit that he should be part of that destiny.
Allow me to correct you, Mr. O'Quinn. My apologies. There is no destiny, because destiny seems to suggest that there is an ending to fate. It is merely the fact that fate is ever flowing. There is no end point, just as there is no beginning. It is merely a river. It can never come to its completion, thus there can never be a true destiny.
When you look at him, when you look at Karul, you clearly you know that the words are hitting home. You absolutely are for sure that it just flows through him. Whatever you said right there was too much.
But he smiles nonetheless, and he will pour. Is it Leo? It's Leo. He will pour tea for Leo. Just pour some tea. He puts a tiny cupcake on a plate.
She will ignore it and will keep standing.
That's fine. He will still present it and put it on the table.
And this is why she does security.
I see. A trepidatious nature. But then again, I suppose when it is one feels as though they have something that is worth the guarding. Valuable.
There's always something valuable to guard, even if you don't immediately see it.
Anyway, so I like this whiskey. He's drinking it. He's not at all precocious at drinking this fine stuff, or drinking at the hands of a person he's never met.
Do you sit down?
Oh yeah, my character definitely sits down. He
Okay, just making sure.
And he even crosses his legs, and he's like, "So, Narahiri, if I might call you that, if you want to, Mr. Alexander, it's also fine.
Nahiriel is fine.
You, sir, may I call you sir? Being here in this location, so very secluded away from almost anything. You said you had multiple groups entering your domain, your area recently. Did they have the same connection like me and my sister?
Oh, yes. Up until recently, it was impossible for our kind to enter the city. It was protected by many-fold entities of faith, shall we say.
Yeah.
Now, things have changed.
Me and my sister were lucky. We were already here, I suppose.
Yes. So, I have been here very, very secluded for a while, but I don't necessarily mind. I tend to like keeping to myself. It helps in my studies, you understand, but as I said, occasionally company is so delightful.
Kirill looks at his sister and does not understand why he should be anything of delight. He rarely is. However, he is very interested in getting to know why the fuck he should be here. And he says, so, did you, in all your wisdom and knowledge, have any messages for them that you have for us? Perhaps?
Oh, no. No. I'm merely here, and rather I believe the reason the road let you come here is because I'm merely pointing out that I am here. I have no real interest, you understand, in the politics that so often breaks out amongst our kind, and I'm led to understand that even now a new I believe the phrase to call it court would be correct, is being formed by those who have arrived in the city. So I believe the road brought people here merely to show them that I am, in fact, here, though I have no interest in personally interacting with their...
Courting?
Yes.
Oh, this is definitely the first time Lil agrees with this guy.
my character also. It's like, so since they're going to form another little crop of their friendly friends, your position in this would be an advisory role, or would you simply say none at all?
I'm happy to give advice to anyone who seeks advice. After all, why does one possess knowledge if not to give it and impart it to those whom are in need of it? But I have no interest in any official position, job, or other. No, not at all. That would simply divert me from my work.
From the demeanor of Kirul, you can definitely see that he likes Gunter. He likes Gunter for the fact that he is not wanting or looking for anything. It's rare for him to see someone who's not looking for an angle or looking for a way to do stuff. So he's interested just to befriend this man who does not want anything.
Allow me to ask, are you both freshly arrived?
Well, we've been here for a while, but in our profession, it behooves us to stay below the radar, so to speak.
Ah, interesting. How very interesting. He will pick up his own teacup and he will take a sip. Saskia, if you would like to, because you're very alert and vigilant, if you'd like to make me a perception alertness check.
Sure. I should have picked that specialty in perception. I haven't done that yet. Doesn't matter. Perception alertness.
It is based on sight if you have anything that...
Oh, did I? I thought I did. I might have. Let me check my merits real quick.
Don't you have like the...
Acute sense eyesight. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. She did have a perception.
I got almost all the successes. I think if it's with the -2 difficulty, I got 6 successes.
Okay. Behind Gunther, where he's sitting, there is a very large statue. You think it's kind of sitting in an alcove of books of a black spider. When Gunther raises he takes a bite of something, you see the spider's head visibly move, and then when he puts it down, when he puts the biscuity bit down on the plate, it moves to the plate.
She will keep an eye on it, but she will not move yet. But she's definitely like, this is... She's considering whether it's a threat or not. So she'll basically hold her action to see what it does, readying herself to basically jump on it should she have to.
Okay. Alexander will stand up and he will say, "My apologies. I will just go and conclude. Yes, I will go and conclude the write-up I was doing while it's still fresh in my mind. I'll return in a few moments. Please, you're my guests. Relax. I shall be back in a few moments." Yes. He does seem very scatterbrained, but he will proceed to walk up towards the counter, vanishing from sight. It's also because Evan just needs to go to the bathroom for a few moments, so feel free to talk amongst yourselves.
Right. So as soon as Gunther leaves, Carol immediately looks at Lil and he's like, "What the fuck is this guy about? I mean, Jesus Christ. Can he just like scoop out of here?"
We should leave.
Yeah, I agree, but looks like
one bit.
No, me neither. But the location we're at right now looks like it has no entry and no exit. You saw the signs. I mean, he's clearly a master of like realms or portals or whatever.
Probably both if he's so famous.
Well, looking at the wards, and yeah, he is a famous bugger. He's quite strong in what he can do.
I wonder what else is moving around here.
Good question. When I'm making what have you seen so far? Because all I've seen is a scatterbrained, I don't know, researcher grandpa guy, who just happily, I don't know, watches porn all day.
I have not seen anything. And as she's talking, she'll slowly get a little closer, get another bit closer. We'll lean a little bit forward, and we'll finally, almost like inaudible whisper, and inform Carol about the spider statue, like behind him.
Right. As soon as you say spider statue, you see him cringe up his nose a little bit and say, "Ugh,
Hmm.
why?"
Pretend it's not there for now. We'll see what it does.
Right. I'll be ready.
If he's gone now
If
anyway.
if I was you, I'd reload that pistol of yours.
I was about to say. As you know, she's already grabbing the pistol and reloads it quickly.
I like it. Great minds think alike. I want to get out of here together if we can.
Just keep your voice down.
Preferably without
Let's
spoil.
play along for now.
Oh, I know what to ask a fucking bookworm. Maybe you can talk to him. I mean, I've about as bookwormy knowledge as a fucking brick. I didn't
She'll
get.
just give him a look that could probably best be interpreted as I shoot you myself if you finish that question.
Error.
By the way, while I'm gone, now that I'm back, rather, I can English. If either of you would like to roll me a perception occult roll, you can do.
Yeah,
I assume one of you must have a dot in occult.
I do.
She's the brains of this adventure. You do understand, right? Occult is some guy that I'm badgering.
I mean, it's literally one dot. Is it based on eyesight?
Yes, it is. So yes, it will
Okay.
drop the difficulty.
Yay! I got 5 successes then. I'm on a roll.
Crap, okay.
Oh crap! Okay, okay.
As your eye, okay, question. Because I have a rough idea what Kirill does. Do you also rob people?
She is the she is the getaway car and the shoot from car girl.
Okay, cool. Around you, the books that are on this shelf, like you see some titles that you've seen sold, at auctions and other things like that. If you ever pay attention, these are the books that if you ever had the opportunity to steal, are worth an absolute fortune. For example, you see a copy of the Lamrek Nothacon, which is a real book. For the love of God, never try and say it 3 times fast. Sitting on the shelf, it's bound in. You'll be able to see this. It's bound in chains of pure gold, as in 24-karat pure gold.
What?
Just the amount of wealth around you on these bookshelves is staggering.
I mean, she will look around and will judge that, but she will look around, look back at the statue, look around again. Like that way, she will scan through the room, keep looking back at that statue because she doesn't trust that statue, not for 1 minute. And I would also like to point out that although my character has very good eyesight and is very good at remembering things, she also is dyslexic. So books, not necessarily her forte, but she can judge gold. You don't need to read for that.
Oh, that's fine. I'm merely pointing out from the perspective of those who might want to steal some of the books. There's a huge amount of value in the room.
Yep, she'll, if Alexander hasn't returned yet, she'll just, tap on Carol's shoulder and just, point out and says, "This is worth a lot of money."
Right. Like that skull when we entered. I know that fucker was warded up to the hilt. But yeah, Kirill will definitely rise up from his chair and start tracing along the bookstore with his eyes, looking for interesting titles, as far as he thinks are interesting. And books wrapped in gold always sounds nice.
There's only one of them that appears to have very obvious, and when you picked it up, because you can quite happily pick it up. You will see that basically the outer binding has a lock on it. The lock itself appears to once again be comprised of gold, and it locks two chains together that interlace the book. That themselves are also gold. They're not just gold; they're covered in tiny sigils and symbols, but you can't read them.
Right. Tiny symbols and sigils means protected. Is it? Are there all books in Enochian or different languages as well?
There are books in Enochian.
Right.
If you like, one of them is actually you can see it has a glyph on it. One of them was written by Alexander himself. If you're interested.
Yes, I will pick that one. I'll actually pick it up and start reading in it.
Okay.
Just for general interest, while Garil is doing that, Lily's keeping an eye out on specifically that spider, even though she will pretend not to look at it.
Oh, the spider started to basically. It's basically flexing at the moment as it's starting to walk towards the table. Though it doesn't seem to have any interest in you.
No, he's got
Fine.
interested in your biscuit there.
That's also fine.
You will see it will start to it will walk forward. It's very large. Like you'd estimate the statue itself must weigh 500, 600 pounds. But it doesn't make much noise when it moves, and it will just sit there in front of the coffee table and will take a biscuit in the mandible before returning to where it was.
Right. When it walks back, are there more biscuits?
There are more biscuits.
Wonderful.
Do you eat a biscuit?
Nope. But I'll keep one in my pocket.
Okay. All right. So you open
the Enochian book. What is it about?
It is a history. It is a history of the war.
Ooh. Interesting. Since I have a huge lack of evidence, to me it looks or reads as important info.
Okay. Make me an intelligence academics check to see how much you've read before Alexander returns.
Right. Well, since my academics and stuff like that is definitely my sister's forte, I'll try.
You keep saying that. Funny dude. I don't even have 1 dot in academics.
I have not. Do I have a dot in academics?
I thought you had 1.
I don't think so.
Well, I have none, so don't go blaming that on me.
I don't think I have anything. Let me double check.
You finished elementary school.
I don't call that academic.
You're the one who had the schooling, and by schooling I mean you dropped out when you were 13. What?
See, exactly. I didn't do anything. I don't have any academics. Come on, that's for smart kids.
All right. In that case, you will only basically be able to read a page or two.
Right. I got 8, so that means at least an A and a page or 2.
Okay. So basically, what you'll read is you will know what Alexander did during the war because it's written from his perspective.
Right.
You'll know why he fell, which is a story. Essentially, before the war, Nahariel had a very specific job. It is the slayers who must end life. However, what Nahariel's job was originally was to fill the hourglasses with the allotted time that each being that must die on Earth had.
Mm-hmm.
And when their time had come, he would shatter their hourglass, symbolizing it was their time to die. However, originally, this was only meant to be for animals who were meant to die in the perfect world. Man was never meant to die. However, then the fall came, and then the corruption of Adam and such came, and Nahariel was driven insane, having to smash the hourglasses of humans, and then even the angelic host, whom should never die. And yet he had to still smash that which should never be smashed.
Yeah, I get it.
Awesome. It also makes very, very clear. He goes on these weird times. He's batshit crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine. He's like out of his mind now.
In my history, I do hope you're enjoying it.
Kirill, only a few pages in, it says, when we fell down here, we had a huge lack of memory. Your book, your stories, your history, to me is like opening eyes into another world that I once was part of.
Oh. He will take his seat again. He will say, so, what do you know and what do you not?
What I do not know, I cannot possibly say. Kirill smiles and then says, what I do know is that I am a Faustian slayer who used to be a shepherd of the wandering souls. And became something quite different.
Oh, I understand. I understand completely. He looks at Leo, and you, my dear.
Who still hasn't even introduced herself. Um, she is staying silent for quite a while because she's still not sure if she should trust him or if she should, like, what information to give. And then finally she shrugs and says, apparently I'm from the second house.
He smiles. I know.
How?
He
How do you know?
he asks. He kind of gestures for Kirill to hand him his book.
Kirill, of course, hands him his own book. Obviously, it's his stuff.
He flicks through the book. He has the same very kind of long black fingernails as he's pictured with, so he flicks. You'll see his eyes darting around as they do before he'll nod. You will also see that as you go deeper into the book, there are illustrations that you would assume he penned. So there are pictures, there are images, there are sometimes what almost looks like blueprints. They look somewhat odd and out of place, but yet they're there. And he will then he will then smile before he turns the book around and places it on the coffee table. It's just ever so slightly out of Leon's sight.
So, she's gonna pretend that, she's just casually walking. But, both of you, it's clear to see that, yeah, she's sure. She does want to know why he's turning a book onto that page. So she'll just, take a step to the side and we'll look at it.
You see a picture of a being that immediately resonates with you as you look at it. Basically, it is that wonderfully interesting moment of seeing a picture that you categorically know is a picture of yourself. However, it does not bear the same image that you yourself bear. It is much changed. It is different. This was in another life so long ago that it has stretched the imagination of imaginations. you see this entity standing there in. You see this entity standing there in a field of shooting stars that hang all around them, and at the ground, a field of shooting stars that fire all around them that seem to blaze in the night sky. You see another figure broken and bloodied on the ground with a number of wounds that are bleeding a thick black ichor, kind of, the corrupted blood of the fallen. When it was, they still had bodies that somewhat resemble the divine. And you see a figure laying at your feet, and surrounding you under this great cloak of stars, you see a number of angelic figures stood with weapons in their hands as they're basically encroaching in upon you.
Okay. So basically, this is sort of the form you will probably see.
Yep, that is indeed what it's seen.
All right, awesome.
Right? Found it. 3 seconds. So, Lily, I'm gonna make a quick subterfuge roll to keep my my face as unmoved by this as possible. So, manipulation subterfuge.
Yep, manipulation subterfuge.
Okay. I have a great liar merit, but I don't know whether it lowers the difficulty by 2 or if it adds dice or something. So I would
I
need to
have
look that up.
no idea. You'd have to tell. You'd have to tell me.
I
It's
will
not a-
look it up. I know it's on the Demon's Player guide. Usually, I copy paste my flaws and merits and have a very nice list of my. But now I don't. I'm stupid. That should probably be. Oh, it's either a social or a mental. Let me see. Listener, good taste. Yeah, if I can't find. Here. Gain 2 dice on any social rolls that involves lying or deceiving another person or demon. Okay.
Yep. So gain your 2 dice.
Yay. Which will make it sort of worthwhile because, manipulation subterfuge is not yet the best because,
I was going to say, trust me, when you get 16 XP a month, it tends to rack up pretty quickly.
I got 2 successes.
Okay. So what is she actually feeling and what is she showing?
She is definitely shocked. It's like, that moment when time just seems to stand still for a moment and you're just staring and then everything seems to start like moving up again, almost fast forwarding to those few seconds that have passed. It's like the room is for a moment like turning around, and as she looks at this, and what can be seen on the outside is that yes, she's looking at that for like a couple of seconds, and will then look up, trying to hide that puzzlement and the feeling of what the fuck, why do you have my picture in your fucking book? And we'll just say, who's that?
You. Or you that was, when it was another time.
You know me.
He points to the other figure who's on the ground, the one that's been very obviously wounded.
She'll look at that one.
It doesn't resonate with you at all the same.
No.
So, however, because he's pointing at it, you can assume maybe it's him.
Yeah. She's making that assumption, but assumptions are basically traps. So I do not know that person.
No. Maybe you will in time.
Perhaps I shall.
He smiles. However, he will close the book and he will push it across to the two of you. He will say, if you wish to learn more of our past, you're free to take this with you if you'd like.
When do you want it back?
When you're done reading it.
All right.
What's the price?
Good question.
Ah, yes. Our house or our belief, we always have a price. He looks at Lil, smiled for me once. That's all.
Why? God damn it.
What did you
Does
say,
he
Jesse? I
giggle?
didn't quite hear you.
I mean, he was just giggling. Does he giggle in character, though?
He's mad enough.
If he giggles in character, there's just that glare again, like, I will shoot you.
Simple. For the price of a memory. A memory.
She'll... will roll her manipulation subterfuge again, this time to present a smile. Because she does not feel like smiling right now. But, you know...
Okay. I will put it, he never said, and Faustians are big on their wording, he never said you had to have a heartfelt smile. He merely said a smile.
but, you know...
He also asked you to smile. He didn't say anything about how you would smile.
I know. But,
If
you know, if you do something, you better do it right.
No. No.
There. A 5 successes smile.
He will reach out. He won't touch you, but a couple of millimeters away from your mouth, his hand will close. And you'll see for a brief moment a flash of light in his hand before he'll open it again. And there's nothing there.
No, the smile is no longer on her face either. She never stated the time, so it's just like 1 second.
I know, that's fine. He will nod and he will say, please take the book until you're done. I hope that you are at least enlightened somewhat in the reading of it.
How did you know it was me?
We change and yet we stay the same. Also, I knew that today you would walk through my door.
I see.
Let's go before he throws other books at you. So, if we ever want to return the book, how would we be able to find you?
Just get lost.
Right. I always do that intentionally.
Well, whenever you are so lost that you find yourself, well, you might just find yourself once again upon my road.
Obviously. Maybe for the next book. Kirill is smiling. He's finishing his whiskey, like in one gulp. And then he's definitely making his way to the exit.
Lil did not wait.
All right. As the door closes behind you, the door will close. You get the distinct impression you should either go left or right.
All right.
Hmm. Where do you want to go?
To bed.
I'm afraid I have no way of navigating from this place.
Let's go. Fuck right. I don't care. I mean, theoretically, we just have to get lost, right?
I thought it would be a choice between somewhere and nowhere.
Well, I'll choose. Let's go somewhere. I don't care. You start working.
I presume your bed is somewhere.
Obviously. I don't know yet where, but it will be somewhere.
Might be anywhere.
Let's try somewhere first.
As it is, you turn right in order to walk down somewhere. You'll walk and walk for what feels like 10 minutes or so. The street just seems to get longer and longer and longer and keep going until you will both find yourselves back exactly where you were when it was you first took the turn that led you here.
So if Lil is at her car again, she'll kind of lean against the door, will call Carol and says, "Are you coming outside? I've been waiting for you for half an hour."
Actually, as you look at your phone, no time has passed.
No, but she
I
had
know,
been
I'm still pointing out.
yeah.
Fuckery!
As Karul exits his door, he finds his sister. Like he finds her on the phone. Half an hour, eh?
You're late.
Yeah. Fiendishly so.
That's just a slow clap moment. I like that. But at that point, we'll end our scene. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. This has been a Demon introduction to Darkness in Dublin. Have a pleasant evening.